6. 6 was a good number, small enough to be always achievable, like overloaded reps in the gym. Then, she promised herself, she would stop for water and rest. She did not know that Alba was waiting overhead, leaning over the balustrade again, watching her come up. 25 years ago, coming together had been their first dramatic success. They would grow closer, Alba had hoped. That would be a different kind of task, and a different, less euphoric, kind of accomplishment. "You're just going to leave your mess there?" she said when Lil set her next box of tiles against the wall. "My mess?" "The mess. Our mess." Lil started down again. Even the pause to bicker with Alba did not much revive her, and within an hour she was failing, physically and mentally. She recognised the signs, from all her failures in the past. But today was worse. She felt herself not only tiring and weakening, but aging. And not only trip by trip, but flight by flight, almost step by step. A lifetime's incremental changes made flesh. Time lapsed. How much older, how many years or months per flight, she could not have said. But by noon, she felt and moved the way she imagined an old woman must. On the living room wall was a sun-faded square where a calendar and a clock hung side by side. An overturned bucket stood beneath. That was where Lil sat for long minutes after every trip now, head bowed, sweat furrowing down her grey forearms, dripping from her fingertips onto the grey floor. She should have felt encouraged by all the boxes of tile and bags of cement set along the weight-bearing walls, where only that morning sacks of rubble had been. Just as she should have felt a surge of satisfaction with each sack dropped onto the footpath down below. But fatigue debunks even the useful lie. The growing heap of sacks only meant more work. To get them to the dump, and the supplies upstairs only showed how much renovation remained to be done on the apartment. She sat on the bucket, staring into space. The living room walls were scored with long scars where she'd pulled out the old silk-wrapped wires in stuttering lengths like varicose veins. Like her forearms and face, the window panes were blurred with dust. Every waiting sack was another dead weight for muscles now melting with fatigue. Everything said age, failing powers, endless work. She was spent. As surprising as her body's capacity for fatigue was its ability to revive. A few minutes later, she was dragging a new sack toward the kitchen. Silent angel Alba watched from the apartment's corridor, from behind a sheet of transparent plastic. The whole apartment had been divided into different zones by such sheets, taped to the ceilings and floors, with vertical slits where the doors were, to contain the dust. "Are you trying to make me feel sorry for you? Admire you, what?" came her voice. Lil waddled to the front door, through its slit, and started down again. On the third-floor landing, she heard a distant phone that might have been her own. Then Alba's voice, far above, calling her name. "Lil!" It sounded strident, almost panicked, exactly the kind of coercion Lil couldn't stand. She didn't answer, and didn't stop. Somewhere below, robot hands were playing piano scales. She dropped her load on the footpath by the building's front door, went to the basement for another, began the long climb back up. By now it was like climbing to a higher altitude, where she had to work so much harder to milk the life she needed from its thinner air. The weight in her arms, too, a sack of grout this time, increased steadily as she mounted the stairs. As in the final reps of a final gym set, each additional effort now brought her closer to the absolute limits of her physical strength. And by the time she was halfway back up, her legs were trembling. She paused to rest and looked up. Alba would be sulking, of course, because her call a few minutes before had not been answered obediently. With a conclusive thud, she dropped her bag of grout onto the living room floor, then straightened herself as best she could. Alba was sitting at the kitchen table with a stupid look on her face. "What?" Lil said. "Pierre is in the hospital," explained a sick voice. "In Trondheim."